the concept and also the ideas.
Recently, Gamuda Land Vietnam and Emperor Key Hong Kong China signed a strategic cooperation agreement. Accordingly, Emperor Key becomes a partner in investing, trading, and developing real estate projects under the brand Gamuda Land Vietnam to the international market. With this agreement, Emperor Key will act as a consultant for product development, sales management, and marketing and communication strategies for real estate projects under the brand name Gamuda Land Vietnam in Asia like Hong Kong, Shanghai, China, Japan, and Thailand. The new concept of project developers only appears in the real estate market in Vietnam in recent years. Not every business has the same strength in building, managing, and developing real estate projects, as the main reason why many developers choose to cooperate with project developers, as a good way to create a good product that is relevant to the market, and at the same time, ensure the liquidity of the project thanks to the support from the developers' brands.
Greetings from Sang Vietnam on VTC10 Net Việt. The professional development of the real estate market requires the close cooperation between the real estate investors and also the developers. To understand more about this issue, in today's program, we have a conversation with Mr. Dennis Ng from Gamuda Land Vietnam and Mr. Ronan Gosling from Emperor Key on this topic. So thank you for joining us. The first question we'd like to ask you is how many times you have been to Vietnam and what can you say about the social economic development of Vietnam and especially the real estate market?
Well, I've been to Vietnam. This is my second time actually, all right, to Hanoi. What I can see actually now, I can see there are lots of construction going around in Hanoi and Ho Chi Minh in Vietnam. And you can see that, everybody's really playing the game and it's really trying to build up lots of properties because there are great potentials in Ho Chi Minh and in Hanoi as well. And I strongly believe this potential will be a very long-lasting one and it's going to give great opportunities for investors around the world.
Okay. Talking about the real estate trend in Vietnam in general, I would totally agree with what Roland has observed, and also comparing in this region, the development of real estate in Vietnam can be considered one of the top in the range of Southeast Asia. If you look at the neighboring countries like Philippines, Thailand, Malaysia, Singapore, Hong Kong, Taiwan, those are actually reaching a top in terms of their pricing, in terms of their demand. But when you come back to look at how Vietnam is pursuing its development, evidence can be shown that the last couple of years, the trend of the GDP growth in Vietnam has reached its tip top in considering as one of the fastest progressing country in Asia. With that itself, it actually promoted more and more good policy to invite more investors to come and invest. With the establishment of the FDI, with the initiative of the government spending to build more infrastructures.
It is very common that the investors are paying money to get the experienced developers to carry out the real estate projects for them. So what would you say about this trend?
It is a trend actually, especially now in Hong Kong and China. The investors are very keen to actually purchase properties from not just from themselves in China or maybe in Hong Kong. They are looking for elsewhere to get good investments. And definitely Hanoi and Ho Chi Minh in Vietnam, it's actually a good place for them to make use of the money. As you can see, probably maybe the market, the prices of properties in China or maybe in Hong Kong, it's pretty high already. So these investors, they already have the money on hand, right? But they want to have more choices in spreading their investments all over the world, not just concentrating on the place where they live, like in China or Hong Kong. So they have the money, they want to buy good properties. So where are the good properties? Definitely in Hanoi and in Ho Chi Minh.
This trend has been around in Vietnam for a few years. So what can you say about this trend? And can you share some experience of Gamuda in developing the real estate projects?
We have actually stepped foot into the southern Hanoi, which is the district of Hong Mai. to make way for development of city within the city. The most important thing, sustaining the investment from this investor that they can see from now until the end of the allowable tenant that provided in the law for the land use right provision.
Well, I would say definitely people would like to buy from a good brand. It's very normal that everybody, if you have good money, you want to spend it on something really good. And why not you just spend it with a good brand? And I can see that Gamuda has lots of long histories and past projects that has been very successful. And our job in Emperor Key is actually to make sure that relationship between Gamuda Land and Emperor Key will give good confidence to the investors.
In your opinion, what are the difficulties in developing the real estate projects in Vietnam particularly and in the international markets in general?
A very good question, in fact. We have been here more than 10 years. We have experienced ups and downs. But most of the time, the challenges that we have faced is actually the uncertainty in terms of the law change. But that was the future. But moving forward with the new regime, new government, new head that actually govern the government, has actually paved a way for a more streamlining process, and reference are actually made to the surrounding country to implement what is the best practice in terms of this region to allow a more sustainable development being established. We as an international developer, where we have experience in Singapore, Australia, Malaysia, has actually gone through quite a number of challenges. But with those challenges that we have incorporated in hand, we have also shared with the government that what is necessarily required to further enhance their development as well as promote to move on to another stage.
A few years ago, many home buyers were puzzled when a contract was signed that the home was never received or that the home had been unoccupied. This psychology has haunted many customers, and they are eager to find a project with reputable investors.
Đối với các khách hàng thì cũng đòi hỏi ở các đơn vị phân phối cái thông tin nó cũng phải đầy đủ thông tin mở, và cái số lượng sản phẩm thì phong phú đa dạng, không phải hạn chế hay là việc xin cho gì nữa.
This has prompted professional property developers to promote stronger operations with their projects. Investors will work with other reputable real estate brands to expand their portfolio of products.
Well, I think as a developer, real estate developer in Vietnam, we're always looking for new projects in order to expand our residential portfolio. And you know, MIK is looking at projects in Hanoi, in Ho Chi Minh City, and other part of the country. So definitely, if there are projects, we will certainly look at it.
And actually needs joint venture partners to bring the capital in. So I think Vietnam, the current government is doing wonderful things. The anti-corruption drive, the good governance, the effective ways of doing business are all wonderful things, and they're yet to be translated into a return. What it's doing is delivering greater confidence to investors, whether they're domestic or foreign.
The lack of advantages in construction management and developing the real estate projects is the reason why many investors have partnered with the real estate developers. In your opinion, how does this partnership benefit the investors?
This is basically concerning in the maturity of the thinking of an investor. What Roland is sharing is the positive point of how we do the investment, and also how to basically complement with the local developer like us, international developer like us, where we can provide the first-class product, first-class services. This is where Emperor Key comes in, and as well as a sustainable development. You can, if I take you back to what I've explained to you earlier on the creation of a city within the city, that is the formation of the commitment of this international investor, where we are putting all our resources to making sure that our master plan that we have established for this particular investment can transform into reality. And that reality is actually benefiting not only us, the government as well, but most important thing is the social for the social benefit of all the investor plus the residents.
In your opinion, how does the customers and also the market benefit from the partnership?
Basically, you're referring to the local investor or local buyer or residents, right? So they will actually, as I mentioned earlier, they will actually have an opportunity to open up their eyes to look at a different perspective in terms of what do we mean by community living. If you look around the surrounding the developers nearby our development, they are telling everybody the same concept, the green living, the community living, But end of the day, they only provide up to a certain extent of provision, where once the development has up to the stage, handed over to the residents, they literally started to pull out. So again, we are not trying to criticize our competitor or our neighboring developer. We are just trying to focus on what we can do different from them. This is where the commitment of Gamuda in terms of building this Gamuda city form the base fundamental of our investment objective.
In your opinion, does the partnership increase the cost of construction or the price of the real estate?
Actually, what Gamuda Dennis actually mentioned, the construction cost is actually increasing every day, right? But that also depends on the market. Definitely, I do agree with Gamuda, what Dennis said. It's actually value for money. What we are doing now in Emperor Key is we will provide the service that will make sure the investors are hassle-free. And that will definitely bring up the value of the properties they bought because of the commitment which Gamuda Land has actually made in terms of announcing this partnership. It actually shows that Gamuda Land will give great support to Emperor Key.
Can you share more with us about the future plan of Gamuda and also Emperor Key in cooperating with each other to develop the real estate project in the future?
Okay, the future plan that we have actually put in place with Emperor Key is quite tedious. We have a very extensive roadmap that we have established because this relationship will not stop in a year, 2 years, 10 years, 15 years, because this relationship will basically establish to sustain the whole development plus the sustainability of our investors' demand. Because Emperor Key are actually set up with an objective to provide top-to-toe solution for the post-contract period. So that particular service itself, we envisage that it's very important to formulate it as part of the developer initiative. Because if we let it running loose, and like what I explained to Roland just now, the investor can choose to look for individual consultant or individual service provider to help them. Emperor Key has these 3 main criteria to satisfy our needs. And with that, we see that the next plan we put forward is basically take on the challenge to educate foreign investors to know more about the property in Hanoi, especially Gamuda's product, the investment environment that they are facing for coming into Vietnam.
Once again, thank you for joining us and for your meaningful sharings today. And that's all we have for this episode of Chuyên Vietnam today. For comment and feedback, don't hesitate to write to us at chuyên@netvietttv.net. Thank you for watching and goodbye for now.